Everybody, it's Steph from the Outlook Podcast. So, Rich Paul, the agent or founder of Klutch Sports, had a lot to say on the Pat McAfee show about Chris Bosh and not being a big three in Miami. That he said that it was more of a big two. Look, man, I think just, I don't think we've really appreciated Chris Bosh and how instrumental he was in Miami, but I'll go ahead and play the sound of what Chris Bosh had to say. Okay. And then we will get back to it right away. Sorry, I don't know if I can play this video, the clip, to avoid copyright strikes. So please forgive me, but I will play the audio and let's hear it.
I always love a big two. I don't really love a big three. The big three thing has never really worked. And you say, well, what happened in Miami? That wasn't really a big three. There was, when you think about it, Bosh was the ultimate professional. He took a back seat and he played a role in which, because he had such a high IQ and he was such a professional as an individual, his approach to everything is what made that work. I always love a big two. I don't really love a big three. The big three thing has never really.
Okay, so you heard what Rich Paul had to say. Okay, and look, man, this comment had everybody in the frenzy on social media. I was like, why is Rich Paul trending? And I was like, he really said that about Chris Bosh. I mean, look, Eric Spoelstra has praised Chris Bosh of how instrumental he was and just the spacing he provided in Miami with D Wade and LeBron James, and just kind of Chris Bosh is kind of like, when he came to Miami. And he was a 6'11", big, but he was a stretch big, who could really defend probably, I would say probably like at times 2 through 5. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 1 through 5, honestly. Chris Bosh was one of the more mobile big men who could stretch the floor, hit the three. Corner threes was his bread and butter. Key to be able to go up against some of the big men at that time and really stretch the floor for Miami and really give LeBron James some space to work with along with D Wade. That was definitely a big three. I mean, it wouldn't have not made major news at the time of LeBron making the big decision, and then all three of them, and LeBron with all three of them famously saying not 5, not 6, not 7. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, because we all thought that, the Miami Heat at that time, I mean, we've never seen a collection of talent before Boston in 2000 in the free agency in the summer 2007. We haven't really seen, I think it was bigger than that. Obviously, LeBron James was massive going to Miami, leaving Cleveland, and then going to Miami with Chris Bosh to join D Wade. That was huge. We've never seen a mega big three team up like the way they did. So for Rich Paul to have this revisionist history and say, well, it was I've never heard him say that. Forgive me if he's made this comment years ago, but it seemed like he wanted to reiterate that again. So that was the clip. Okay, now obviously I understand that context is everything, but I'm just gonna go based off this clip. So maybe there's an overarching point that he was trying to make prior to this statement, but this is the clip that everybody is quoting, and regardless of whatever point he was trying to make, the fact that he's saying it was more of a big two, I think it does. Not that it was intention, but it does Chris Bosh a major disservice in mentioning that as if he was the third act. No, I mean, dude, like Chris Bosh, like he had a whole career in Toronto. He's 11-time All-Star. I mean, he was the guy in Toronto routinely having them in contentions for the playoffs or in the playoffs, right? There's a reason why Miami was in very strong pursuit of him. We understand that, Carmelo Anthony was supposed to be the guy. He wanted to stay, I think he wanted to stay in Denver. Yeah. So, I mean, and then eventually I think in 2011 season, he ended up getting traded to New York Knicks. I believe so. But I don't think the Miami Heat would have won those 2 championships if it was Carmelo Anthony instead of Chris Bosh. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Carmelo, and just different positions and everything, and just how much Chris Bosh was able to, space the floor and bring big men out and have big men on the move. Very unique, you know what I'm saying, at the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that Chris Bosh was the first to be the first stretch big three. Dirk Nowitzki was a stretch big and stuff like that. But I mean, but it was a different kind of style than Dirk Nowitzki. He didn't shoot. I don't think he shot the 3 percentage at a certain clip like Dirk, but he definitely had some post moves and everything. And he was an underrated passer as well too. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think Carmelo Anthony would have been able to provide the type of value that Chris Bosh did in a different package for the Miami Heat. You know what I'm saying? And so I have a lot of respect for Chris Bosh. Even when LeBron left, Okay, and it was Chris Bosh on Hassan Whiteside. I believe D-Wade was, no, I don't know if D-Wade was there, but I mean, I feel like they made the playoffs that one year. They made the playoffs still. I believe they made the playoffs in 2015. I got to double check. But, you know, I mean, if you look at his stats, I mean, dude, like, I mean, he was averaging 20, last year in Toronto, he was averaging 24 points. Okay, he goes to Miami, 18. And this is big. Like I almost want to, like, when you look at these numbers, right, I almost want to feel like we got to adjust the NBA scoring for inflation, right? Like kind of how like things were a certain cost back then, and then there are certain costs now. I almost feel like, you know, back then being a big three, I'm averaging 18 points in 2011. You know, in today's NBA with the type of scoring clip, I almost want to say like, yo, that's the equivalent of averaging what? I would say 22, 23, 24 points, right? I mean, because playing alongside with D Wade and LeBron James, he was instrumental, huge. I mean, he made some big time shots at times in the playoffs for the Miami Heat. It was very critical. Chris Bosh was really good in the playoffs when it came to rebounding, key rebounding spots at times. I mean, just excellent player. Okay, and like we say big three because of like the last big three prior to that was when Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett joined the Boston Celtics. People always talk about the big three. Rondo wants to say big four. He feels like he's actually part of the big three, not Ray Allen. That's a whole different debate on the Boston Celtics side, but nonetheless, we still call that a big three. So why is Rich Paul trying to sound smart? I feel like Rich Paul, I've seen him on interviews many times. I've seen him try to, you know, give some philosophical overarching point that just doesn't make any sense to me at times. You know, I mean, I get it. He's a smart businessman and everything, but, and yeah, he has a lot of agents, he has a lot of notable sports athletes under the Klutch Sports agency brand and all that stuff, and it's just like I don't know if I want to really hear his basketball take at this point. He's a great businessman, smart businessman. The Bosh take, I don't agree with it. I have a lot of respect for Chris Bosh and what he's done in the NBA and how instrumental he was with the Miami Heat. And in my eyes, he is definitely a big three and should be appreciated for just kind of where we're at in the NBA and just the evolution of the big man. And Chris Bosh has definitely been a part of that. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all that, man. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe. I'm out.